Blank slate therapy is defined as a traditional psychoanalytic technique where the clinician remains neutral, distant, and avoids self disclosure to allow clients to project their own emotions and beliefs. This method aims to provide a neutral environment. As therapists, we're taught this in grad school, but how applicable is it to the real field? Today, we're going to be talking about that. This is
New
Newbie-ginnings.
beginnings.
So, blank slate therapy,
Yeah.
something we learn a lot. I feel like it's kind of one of the first, maybe not exactly the first thing we learn, but it's definitely a skill that's emphasized a lot.
Yeah.
Like therapy is not your session, it's
The
their
client.
session.
I've heard a lot about it on social media too, right? Where I feel like a lot of the therapists are trying to push away from that, where it's not realistic in the real session because we're humans, right?
Yeah,
We whether we want it or not, we're gonna have reactions to certain things. And sometimes it is important to give those reactions to validate the client's experience.
absolutely. Absolutely. Like I had, which I think this was actually really big in undergrad, I had a professor tell us that because she did private practice and
Mm-hmm.
she was like, you'll often hear the term like blank slate therapist. And she was like, she had a client one time where I guess the client had just like talked a lot about like a traumatic event that the client had experienced. And I think they've had multiple therapists, things like that. And my professor's like, and my jaw like literally fell. And the client was so surprised to see that like she had a reaction to it. And so they kind of talked a little bit about like, you know, why my professor was like shocked.
Yeah.
And the client I guess told her like no one has ever told me that that was messed up. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was like that what happened to me was actually like a messed up thing.
Yeah.
I've always felt it, but no one reacts that way when I tell them.
Yeah.
And I think that just being able to express those emotions and let people know, oh, like, okay, that this is how I'm perceiving it.
Yeah.
I mean, the client can still tell you, like, oh, no, it's totally fine. Like, that's not how I feel about it. But yeah. So I just remember that stuck out with me. I learned that a few years ago, and that stuck out with me since
Mhm.
about the importance of being open uh, with your emotions.
Yeah. And not being like having this stoic face
Yeah.
every time. Someone shared their story.
Yeah.
Someone that something that, has really traumatized them in certain ways. And whenever we give that stoic reaction or no reaction at all, I feel like it kind of invalidates everything that they went through, right? As you said, your professor having that reaction and talking about it might have been a lot helpful for the client also.
Yeah. I think so. So I've stuck with that
Yeah.
with my practice of, especially with intakes.
Hmm.
Like it's always hard because you're not going to be seeing the client again. But I mean, I've had people tell me like whether tears in their eyes or big smile on their face, like just like wow, like I've never told anybody that before, and
Hmm.
I felt comfortable to. And I like to think that that's part of my reactions, is
Yeah.
not just like staring at them
Yeah. Yeah.
like like
Yeah.
but actually being like human and be like, okay, thank you for sharing your story
Hmm.
with me.
I had this client where he had a lot of losses and no one really said, "I'm so sorry for your losses." And he was like, "This is my first time hearing that after, going through a lot of losses."
Wow, really?
Yeah.
So was it like other therapists had never said it? Was it like just people in his life in
Yeah,
general?
people in his life in general, I don't think he had or the client had a lot of support system that he could rely on.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, by like breaking kind of past that mold of like blank slate therapist, you connected with him, provided just like that human touch of like, I'm here for you.
And I think it just goes back to sometimes, have I can well, personally for me, I feel like I can't help not give reactions because we're talking,
Mm,
right? My face is gonna give reactions even if I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't. Because
yeah.
I've told myself, and I feel like I have had a lot of instances too where I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have made that reaction, right? Or maybe I shouldn't have done it like that. Where I try to, I feel like, do that, right? Where it's just like try to be blank
Hmm.
slate. So it's just kind of hard, especially when you have been hearing for the longest time. You know, you need to have a blank slate. You shouldn't show a lot of emotions. But if you're a person that shows a lot of reactions and a lot of emotions, I think that it's very hard to be the blank, have that slate, and also it also affects you too because that's the standards that it has been,
Yeah.
and you're just like, oh my god, why did I do that? You are blaming yourself, and you're like, next time I'm not going to do that, right? But
Hmm.
you don't know how that has affected the client. It might have helped them.
Right. Yeah, I know. I remember feeling like at times, especially in the beginning of my field, almost like guilty
Exactly, yes.
for whether it was like, smiling and being like, that's wonderful, or, you know, kind of like, I don't think I've ever cried in a session. Now
Yeah.
that I think about it, I don't think I've ever cried, but even just kind of being sad with a client, I'm like,
Yeah.
because you hear stories where it's like, if you cry in session with your client, you're taking away from the client.
Yeah.
But others say like, no, like it builds connection if the client is crying and you're crying too, or if it affects you. And some
Yeah.
people are just very empathetic people, and it's kind of nature to just natural for them to cry when a client
Yeah.
cries or things.
Yeah. I Yeah, I totally agree. Because I feel like for me personally in my life, I don't cry a lot, right? But if I see other people crying, I will have maybe tears in my eyes or I will start crying. I had that happen to me, I think, recently where it was a topic which I feel like I could relate to. And so the client was crying and I had tears in my eyes and I was just like, oh, I didn't mean to have tears in my eyes.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Did you talk to the client about that, or was it like afterwards?
no, it was towards it. It was in the session. I was like, oh, I didn't mean to. I was like, oh, I didn't want to cry. I just said that, but like, there was no. The tears didn't come down, right? But it was just like I had teary eyes, and I
Mm.
feel like my voice. It was getting to that point where it would actually fall down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
So
quivering.
quivering, yeah, quivering, and I was just like, oh, I didn't mean to. So
What did the client say?
well, she was like, "Oh, it's she didn't say anything because I feel like it was towards the end of the session too where I was ending it, and then automatically I don't know that's just I was trying to end it, summarize it all, and then towards that I feel like I started to tear up
Hmm.
because I feel like it was personal to me too because I have seen that happen to a lot of other people, so I feel like I could relate to that.
Wow, I like that. So definitely just like holding space. I
Oh
think we
yeah,
talked about that.
yeah.
Being able to hold space with our clients, show emotion, show our feelings.
Yeah, and I feel like again, it's a lot of things that I think a lot of other therapists are also trying to get away from because we as we have evolved, we have especially in therapy, right? We have trial and errors, right? And I feel like this is one of those things where we're learning maybe this isn't as helpful as our our older generations have thought it would
Yeah,
be.
absolutely. And I think it's good modeling behavior
Yeah.
for clients who might struggle with expression of emotion. I even know in my work, like at my old job, when I would have certain male clients, I know like generationally and kind of societally, there's this idea like, boys shouldn't cry, men
Yeah.
can't cry. And even though, like I said, I've never like cried in a session, just kind of showing those, sentiments, or giving, like kind sentiments to certain things, I think is just a helpful way to slowly break those molds of like, no, you're not allowed to be upset. You're not allowed to show any emotion other than anger,
Yeah.
or be stoic. I think it's good to model that behavior too, and compassion,
Yeah.
empathy, especially like when I in my undergrad internship with kids, like I was working a lot with social emotional learning, and a big part of that is demonstrating,
Yeah.
even just with your own colleagues, demonstrating when you're working in a group with other kids, that when they see how you interact with them and how they interact with each other, they're like, okay, that's good. Like, that's learned behavior.
Mhm.
So I think in a therapy session, it's good for clients to see that, and to even know, like, oh, I can do that here. I can't tell you how many times people start crying and they'll grab a tissue, like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, this is the place to do it. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to cry,
Yeah.
like, I want you to feel comfortable doing
Yeah.
that here. Um, these walls and this roof are safe for you for that.
And that just shows the importance of it, where as you said in the session, when we tell them or when we make that space for them to be okay to show all those emotions and feel all those anger or all those sadness or all the things that they have been holding on and bottling it up. And I think having a space where they are able to freely express all of those emotions and getting the reaction of that from a professional, I think that's really validating for them too.
I never had a because we learned about blank slate therapy, but in school I never necessarily had a professor who was like never show emotion.
Yeah.
But I did have one professor. I don't know if this is entirely on topic. He was he taught like a crisis class I did,
Mhm.
and the topic of not being of being equal in session. Like, we're not experts. The
Mhm.
client is an expert. I think
Yeah.
that's what it was. The client is
Yeah.
the expert of themselves,
Yeah.
and he was like, um, while I understand the sentiment, that's actually a wrong way to look at it, because you are an expert. Like, that's why the client has come to you.
Mhm.
There needs to be some sort of, you are the professional and the
Yeah.
client is there, and that kind of opened my eyes to certain things. I don't entirely agree with his perspective. Like, I do think it's depending on the type of work you do too. Like,
Mhm.
I think it is still good to be sort of like, I am human. I'm a person. You do know more about you than I know about you. That's a fact. But yes, I have more skill set, or
Yeah.
I have more knowledge on how to navigate these things because of school.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's never my goal to be like, I'm the professional here.
Yeah.
I have more knowledge than you.
Yeah. Well, in some cases you do have more knowledge than them, right? But you are providing those knowledge to the client and letting them decide if they want to take those knowledge and those skill set that you have given them.
Right. And some clients, like, they've had their own experiences with therapy.
Yeah.
They already know some of these things.
Yeah, they do.
It's just a matter of helping them
Yeah.
gather that and use it to their benefit, rather
Yeah.
than, oh, well, I know about this, I just don't know how to use it.
Mhm.
So sometimes clients do come in, they have a lot of knowledge with it
Already. Yeah.
already. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, especially with social media, that's
Yeah.
changed a lot of, even if people use the terms wrong. I mean, everyone, I feel like, has heard gaslighting
Yeah.
now, like, as a,
Narcissist.
yeah, the amount of people I've encountered who say, "Oh, so and so's a narcissist," or
Yeah.
they have bipolar, and
Exact Bible. Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's not it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But okay, which I feel like that's a whole other topic of, like, encountering that with people, and do you confront it? Do you not?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Uh, yeah, there's a lot of those terms that are going on too, right? That sometimes, well, I don't think I give a reaction to that either. But sometimes I just ask, are they officially diagnosed with that?
true. That's, yeah, yeah. And then usually that it's not,
No,
but
yeah.
every now and then, yes.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
for family history, because sometimes that's the thing too. Like, when I'm doing family history and stuff, like, of diagnosing, some people will say, like, "Oh yeah, so and so's been diagnosed with it." Others will just say, "Well, I know
Yeah.
my mother
Yeah.
is a narcissist." And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. So, yeah. We don't give reactions to that, we explore it.
yes,
Right? And not give a blank slate on
yeah.
that either.
Explore. And I mean, like, when I used to do intakes, sometimes I just would ignore it too, like, because I wasn't doing ongoing therapy.
Mhm.
Sometimes I would just like, oh, okay, your mother's a narcissist, okay, and then I just kind of move on. I'm like,
Yeah.
this, I don't have time to educate, and
Yeah.
it doesn't always feel appropriate to be like, well, actually, narcissism personality disorder.
Yeah. Let's
You just,
define that.
right.
Yeah.
um when so with blank slate therapy, there's also the idea of self-disclosure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
you know And I've heard this is the thing too that's so tricky with social media. I get it, it's a liability aspect. It's just to make sure that a therapist is not giving necessarily like advice and then
Mhm.
other therapists are taking and go, well, because I learned it from, them on social media. But I feel like people will always say like self-disclosure is good in healthy amounts.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of it. And
Yeah.
I'll see some people who expand and say like if it's clinically um, like
Appropriate.
based, like if it has clinical value to it, that I feel like has a little bit more knowledge. But I feel like when some people talk about self disclosure on social media, like should I do it? It's always just like if you think so.
Yeah.
Like well, that
I'm
doesn't
like,
help
I don't
me.
know. That's why I'm coming here.
That's why I'm asking. That's why I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
So, in your experience, like with self disclosure, when you started as an intern, when you started as an employee,
Yeah.
what advice did you, if at all, like did you receive about self disclosure
Well,
beforehand?
well, I would say I don't remember talking about it with my supervisor, I
Mm-hmm.
would say, but I did learn about it during college, right? About disclosure, give it when you think it is clinically appropriate to the client and if it will be helpful for the client. But I don't think I have done it here and there with little things to connect with the client, right? Their interests or things like that. But in a deep level of the things that they're going through, I don't think I have done that.
Mm, okay.
I don't think I don't know. I don't know if it's intentionally or if it just that just doesn't come in my head, right in my mind, where I'm just like, oh, maybe this would be helpful if I disclose this information about myself to the client. If maybe it would help build more rapport or make her feel like she's not alone or validate her feelings. All those things. And a lot of the things that the clients have gone through, it's so beyond. I feel like from where I have or the things that has happened in my life. So I don't really think it is necessary for me to give that self disclosure from the clients that I have seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I have done a little disclosure here and there regarding, as I said, a lot of small topics so I could connect with the client more and talk and build that rapport with the client so it's not only them that are talking, and when it's only them that they're talking it can feel like interrogation.
Yeah.
So I've learned like through experience, I'm like maybe I should self-disclose here and there about these little things so we can connect more. And I feel like that has helped somewhat. Yeah, that has helped with one of my clients and I was like, thank God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely has its place and its
Hmm.
value if used
Properly.
properly. And I mean, I don't know if like these even count as self-disclosure, but like sometimes you talk about like oh social media or what's going on in the world,
Yeah.
with a client, and
Yes.
that's very surface level, and
Yeah.
clients I feel like appreciate that. Um,
I feel like that's what I do.
so I don't think it's like self-disclosure per se, but
Yeah.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah. I don't think I have done self disclosure. Maybe it's because I'm in that early phase of my career, so it's kind of hard for me to assess if this will help me or not.
Mhm.
So maybe that's another reason why it's just those little ones, even, you know,
Absolutely.
those ones. What about you?
Well, when I was in internship, when I first started as an intern, probably like the first week or so, I didn't have a lot to do, so my supervisor was just kind of like throwing me with different people, and
Hmm.
it was kind of like, oh yeah, because he was very busy. And I remember when we were talking about an office, I got an office, and that was a whole
Okay.
story.
Yeah.
Um, but I got an office, and he was like, yeah, you can decorate it, but he was like, I would recommend that you don't put anything personal. Like, don't put pictures of your friends or your family. Don't put even if you have dogs, because if somebody's walking, by your home and they don't know it's your home, but they see that dog, they're gonna know that that's your home. And that was like his advice. And he was like, I would just like keep things very neutral, very just, like this is just a therapy office. Like
Hmm.
not he didn't say like no personality, but that's basically what it was giving. Which some of the therapists that I would sit in with, like there was one I sat in, she had pictures of her dog, she had pictures from graduation, things like that. She had paintings she had made, like it was very colorful, very nice office.
Mm.
Another therapist who had been there like 20, 30 years or something, Our office was very bland. It was just like it did not feel like someone's office. It felt like anyone could just pop in and it'd be their office. Um, but he worked in crisis a lot, so I think that might have been his thinking. Like he used to work at like a psychiatric hospital, so I don't know if that's where some of those safety measures came in
Mhm.
of like you don't want anyone knowing anything about you in case.
Yeah.
But I just that was really, especially when he mentioned like the dog thing. I'm like, I never really thought of it because I mean
Me
anybody could
neither.
see,
I was like, surprised.
people could see your car and
Yeah.
and be like, oh,
Yeah.
I wonder if that's.
Yeah.
But that really put like kind of instilled fear in me when I started decorating my office and like is this appropriate? Like I was afraid to put things from like my college. Like I was afraid like to
Oh.
put anything even though like technically you have your diploma.
Mhm.
I was afraid to like put anything that was like, oh, this is where I went to school because what if it's bad or
Yeah.
um and eventually at one point like I put a pride flag in my office and that was fine. I mean like my direct supervisor didn't say anything about it. No one said anything negative there. But I would look around and most offices were very bland. Like they didn't have anything. And at my current job, a lot of staff don't have like personal pictures, but they have more in their office, more that kind of tells their
Mhm.
personality.
Yeah.
Um, and to be honest, it's not that I wouldn't put up pictures like my dogs or anything in my office. It's just I I don't think most people print photos anymore. So I
Yeah.
don't I literally have no photos like
Yeah.
that I could physically use right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it seems like it makes sense why he would say that.
Hmm.
Based on, since you say he has been in the field for so many years
Yeah.
and based on his experience in crisis too. And I feel like with I don't know, I don't have any posters or any pictures of my diploma or my family members or anything like that in my office either. Um, but I feel like having a personality in your office is a good way to um, show to your clients too, right? You don't necessarily have to put pictures or um, anything like that unless you want to,
Hmm.
right? If you want to, that's all on you, right? But this I feel like with that as long as you show your personality, right, and based on your likes, your dislikes, and how colorful you want your office to be, like based on your preferences.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, because I understand his perspective
yeah.
from like his career and stuff, and he was older too. I mean,
Yeah.
he was in his 70s
Yeah.
when he was my supervisor, so he just also learned in a time where they probably did teach that tabula rasa,
Yeah.
blank slate. But I think like if a client wants to know like, oh, do you have any dogs? Like I think
Yeah.
that's I think it's a relatively harmless question to be like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
To be honest, I've had clients ask me and they don't even care to know anything else beyond that. Like they're not like, can I see pictures? Like most of them
Yeah.
are just like, oh, cool, I do, and then they show me. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly, a lot of times I feel like clients bring it back to them as the session should be.
Yeah.
But I think most of them just want to know like, do you have dogs? Oh,
Yeah.
cool, me too. Here's one,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, show me all the pictures.
Yeah.
But I think there's the other one too I saw online about if a client asks your birthday, should you tell them? And people are like, a lot of people say like you should, and I usually will just tell people like, oh, I was born in whatever. Like I just put like the month. I don't like
Yeah.
say, well, here's my exact date of
Yeah.
birth.
Yeah.
But that was because like when I worked with kids, they would be like, how old are you? And like some kids are mean, like they're ruthless,
Yeah.
and you tell them and they're like, wow, you look much older.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more of like, this is a trick question.
Yeah. Are you gonna make fun of me?
Are you gonna make fun of me? But like because for some people they're older, they're in the 30s, 40s or older. They can already tell that there's an age gap.
Yeah.
They just can tell from looking at you.
Yeah.
So I think when they ask like, well, how old are you?
They already know.
It's more just like to I think maybe help them process like, are they as young as I think they are? Are they a little older? And so sometimes I would get a little anxious to answer because I'm like, well, what
Yes.
if this ruins the
Really,
relationship?
yeah.
But I kind of also recognize, like, I might not tell them the exact age. I might just say, oh, I'm in my early 20s and leave it at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I would kind of phrase it as like, in my mind, like, you know what? It's part of it. Like,
Yeah.
if it affects the relationship, we can talk about it. We can make space for that. Like, is there, and it never got to that point. Like nobody directly. Some people would just say like, "Oh wow, like that's like my kid's age or my grandkids are that age," and you would just kind of. I would explore it a little bit. Like, is that
Yeah.
like how do you feel about that? Is usually how it start off, and I think it was only ever a problem with like one or two people or like
Mhm.
something that maybe seemed like a problem at first and then it wasn't.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I have a story I'll share at another point about age, like in another episode. But yeah, so sometimes I get a little anxious to answer that
Yeah.
if they're not around my age because I'm like, if I tell them, is it gonna make them think like, oh, I don't want to come back and talk to you because I can't talk to someone who's my kid's age.
Yeah.
But I try to be honest and just like, oh yeah, I'm this age, or oh, I was born in this month, and again, most people will leave it at that, and you know,
Yeah.
I had one person go, oh, so like, does that mean you're like, I don't know what it is, Gemini or whatever, and I was like,
Oh
oh yeah, I'm
yeah.
a
Yeah.
Gemini.
Yeah.
I don't know what the next
Me
half of
neither.
June is,
Yeah.
but I was like, yeah, I'm a Gemini, and they were like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. I totally agree. I feel like I had the same experience as that where it's just like I did answer my clients' questions, right? But I because you know how people are like, why don't you explore, right? Why are they asking you that and all of those things? But I never did that because I'm just like, they just asked me a question and I just answered the question. I don't think much into it, and I feel like
Yeah,
we we have gotten into therapy where there's a lot of social media, right? And in that you know, we are able to learn from other people's experiences, and when they're like, you know, maybe just answer the questions and not put too much thought into it, right? And I think that has also helped me be like, not be like, oh, okay, well, why are you asking that, right? And all of those things, right? So I feel like with that, I haven't, as you said, right? We don't like go into that, all of those, like, why are they asking me that, or should I answer that or not? You know, all that in that cycle, right? So I feel like that has helped me too with social media, where I'm just like, it gives me some sort of comfort in knowing what I was already doing, right?
yeah,
Was something that something that isn't as bad.
yeah,
Because I was just like, you just asked me a question. It's not about my trauma. It's not about the worst thing that I've
right,
gone through. It's just about some little thing that I can completely answer. So I
yeah,
just answered without giving a lot of thought into it. But with age, I would say I was just like, well, I'm in my 20s.
yeah,
A little hesitance there, but yeah.
yeah. Being younger and newer.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, if I reveal my age, they'll just, you know, what if again? What if they're like, I don't want to work with you?
Yeah,
So my supervisor, she would always say, you know, not to disclose your age and all of that. But then I was like, oh, I already did that.
but what was her reasoning for not disclosing your age?
Well, I think because I think she wants to explore it and do all of that. In that
Interesting.
case, I think not to give the exact age, I would say she didn't want me to give the exact age of the client of me, because maybe of the way I looked, not the way I look, because I look younger. So I think that has certain thing to it too, maybe. So I was just like, well, I already do that, so I don't, maybe from now on I will learn.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, clients get curious, and I think it's important not to kill that
Mhm.
curiosity
Yeah.
by always saying, "Well, so what would would that matter?
Mhm.
If this was the case, or
Yeah.
what impact does that have on you to want to know?" Or
Yeah. Well, yeah, and she it would be like always bring it back to the client, right? When they ask that question. Again, it's like it does it in will it impact our relationship or things like that, and explore more on that instead of answering the question. And
mm,
when they ask the question back to them.
but I don't like. I definitely because about like exploring it. Like if it's age and it,
Yeah.
it does seem like it's a problem exploring. Like if so, how
Yeah.
so? But I mean, if a client is older and they want to know your age, if they can already tell like you're younger,
Yeah.
I mean, whether you tell them or not, and you bring it back to like, okay, well, what problems arise,
Yeah.
or what comes to mind when you think of it, like, I clients, like, whether you reveal it or not, it's clearly something there that the client is thinking of.
Yeah.
Whether you confirm how old you are and that affects the relationship, or you ignore it and put it back onto them, it's it's still going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. It
um,
is.
but yeah, age is one of those ones where
It's like
I I think as I get older, I'll feel more confident.
Exactly. I agree. I totally
It's
agree. Right now, it's just like, let me not give you my exact age, but I'll give you an age range.
yes, because like I had a teenager once who was like, "How old are you?" And I was like, so and so, and they're like,
Older
"Oh,
than
I
you.
thought you were 18." And I was like, "Well, thank you." I'm like, "I know
Yeah.
you're lying, but thank
Yeah.
you." And their mom was like, "Yeah, they think you're very young."
Okay, that's good.
I was like, "Okay, well, that's a compliment."
Yeah.
Um, so with the younger, I think clients, I don't mind as much. Like, oh yeah, I'm this age or I'm around this age, but when it gets older, I do think like, okay, is that going to affect the process?
Relations. Yeah.
Yeah, the relationship, and which I know like that's just part of the self disclosure. But like you said, clients, they're not asking like, have you ever been through this traumatic event or anything like that. Like I had a client once who, and I didn't share, but like they had just had like a car accident. But the reason I didn't share is because their car accident was like they didn't really care about it. It wasn't like I guess traumatic to them
Mhm.
how they described it and how they felt about it. But I had literally like 2 months before I had been in a car accident, and I kind of thought like, oh, that might be a good opportunity to share with them. Like, hey, I've been through it too. I get like it's a stressful process, but the client was like not bothered by it. So I just didn't feel like it was appropriate to
Yeah.
share
Yeah.
because if the client wasn't like, oh, it's the worst
Yeah.
trauma of my life.
Yeah.
So I didn't share in that case. But
Yeah, time and place,
time
right?
and place, time and
Right.
place.
Where it seems like they were okay. It wasn't as bad,
Yeah,
right? And if it was, then maybe you disclosing, and then talking about it would have helped
yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, so I was like really, yeah, so I think that was like a moment where I thought about doing it. And there was another time, so I had the pride flag in my office, and I did have a teenager who had shared that they were um, like LGBT, and they were kind of talking about like how difficult it is with their parents. And there was a part of me that wanted to be like, get it, I understand. And I think I did just say that, like, trust me, like I get it, or something like that. And that's kind of where I left it. But because of the state laws regarding like treatment of LGBTQ youth, I was so afraid to say anything else. And then eventually, me and my supervisor reviewed it after, and we learned that it was just treatment wise, like not like for assessment. So I probably could have been like I get it too, I've experienced it as well, but I also kind of felt like I didn't know if the client would feel better if I
Yeah.
was like, trust me, like I get living with parents who aren't accepting about it. I didn't know if I should open it up like
Yeah.
that, or not. So I think in hindsight, because I was able to connect with the client still, I think in hindsight, I'm glad I didn't. But that was something else too. I'm like, do I self disclose that? Do I share, like, hey, I get it,
Yeah.
kind of like it does get better, trust me. So I didn't in that moment, but I think too, like, I had the pride flag there. That's kind of my way to let people know that I'm open, I'm safe. But beyond that, that's kind of where I
Mhm.
left it in that case. So,
Yeah.
but that also again had more so to do with like just the laws around things.
Yeah.
And then I just talked to my coworkers about like how it affected me that session. But yeah, so anyway, that was kind of that self disclosure aspect. There's two moments where I was kind of like maybe I should or maybe I could, and then I chose not to for
Yeah.
different reasons.
Yeah. And sometimes even just being like, I understand, or like having, as you said, the pride flag, just gives them that space, I believe, to be comfortable enough to just share it.
Absolutely,
So yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
And then I think you just say, yeah, as I said, and just sometimes you don't have to go deep into it,
Hmm.
right? Just being on the surface level is enough for them to feel safe enough to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think I said it earlier, just like a lot of clients just genuinely, I don't think many care like to know too much. Like you do have some who are a little bit more curious, a little bit more like um, want to know more about
Mm-hmm.
you, but I think most are just like they want to build a simple connection and
Yeah.
that's it. Like they're more than happy to talk about themselves. Clients talk about themselves for an hour. We know things in their chart about them. Sometimes they just want to know some basic info about you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's stuff they can Google too. So it's kind of like, a client can probably already find out how old you are or
Yeah.
things like that. So, um, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So
It's hard.
yeah, it is kind of a balance, but
Yeah.
It's not like I talk extensively about my personal life
Yeah.
with them or family
Yeah.
or anything like that. But if a client asks, "Do you have a sibling?" I'm gonna say, "Yeah,"
Yeah.
or if they're like, well, I don't think it's really ever come up beyond that. But
Yeah.
I kind of look at it too as like I kind of think of it as if a stranger were to ask me that, and assuming good intent, like we're not assuming
Yeah.
that the stranger is just like coming up to you like, "Do you have any siblings?"
Yeah.
But if the client, if they were a stranger, would I feel comfortable telling a stranger? Like if a stranger's like, "Oh, do you have any dogs?" I'd be like, "Yeah." Like I would feel comfortable telling a stranger who I met who were just waiting in line. I would feel
Yeah.
comfortable telling that, but I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable telling a stranger about past trauma. So I wouldn't tell the client past trauma. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's exactly a great comparison, but I think as uh, a basis for like,
Yeah.
would I tell a stranger?
I think that's a good way to assess it too.
Would I tell a client?
Yeah.
If a stranger asked how old I was, I would just be like, "Oh, this,"
Yeah.
maybe with clients a little
Yeah.
different, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and also knowing, how it will help the client too, right? With the service level things, I think, yeah, answer them,
yeah.
but assess it also.
Yeah, I do think exploration does have its place depending
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
what exactly the client is asking, what they're inquiring about. Um, and it doesn't always have to be like, "So what feelings come up for you when you
Yeah.
ask?" You could just be like, "What about you?"
Yeah. Bring it back.
Or if you find it to be a pattern, like I notice you're very curious about these things.
Hmm.
Um, any
Yeah.
particular reason why?
Yeah.
Or I think it's okay to inquire about that too. So, but I'm curious for any of our listeners or viewers, what do you guys feel about this topic in general, but especially with like that analogy I used about like what I tell a stranger, because
Yeah.
I feel like in my head it makes more sense, and I feel like when I'm like saying it, I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if that actually works as much." So,
No, I feel like it makes sense to me to a certain extent, right? Where yes, there are a stranger, right? And the questions they're asking, will I be able to answer it if a stranger asks? Although we're in a therapy session, right? Obviously, we have to assess and see how it will impact them. But at the same time, there are some questions where it's not as meaningful as people might make it seem like. And I think looking at it from that perspective helps also to be like, oh, okay, if someone else that I didn't know comes up and asks me this question, I would answer it. And it also helps you feel better about yourself in some ways, I feel like.
yeah.
And not where you don't go into that spiral, right? Where you're just like, next time should I do that or not?
Right.
And all of that.
Mhm.
For me, it was helpful, I would say.
Yeah.
In that aspect. So, yeah. So, Blink Slate is, I feel like we're evolving in that sense.
I agree. Yeah, we're definitely you. I think you can tell the difference with therapy, and we're social workers,
Yeah.
so I think too our education and our perspective of therapy is different than how a psychologist would do therapy. I think because a lot of it I think stems from psychology
Mm-hmm.
rather than like how social work or licensed professional counselors would do it.
Yeah.
I don't even know how old like licensed professional counseling goes back, but with psychology, I think a lot of it's just the stereotypical like lay on the couch and I'm gonna have my notepad and ask you questions. So I
Yeah.
think that's where a lot of it stems from, and we've definitely evolved from that to I want a human, I want a
Mm-hmm.
person.
Yeah.
I mean, I wear like what I'm wearing now is what I would wear in session with clients. That's a whole other topic about dress code. Like I'm not
Yeah.
wearing a suit and tie with
That would be
clients.
so expensive.
Like yes, and honestly, just like uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess I've never really worn a suit and tie
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like I can't. I would need a stipend.
Yeah, the amount of money it will cost, it's not getting paid by the money that I get
No,
paid.
no, especially if it needs to be a good one.
Yeah.
So yeah, blank slate therapy. It's no longer something we're really doing. We're just evolved past it. But yeah,
Yeah. But well, for us, right? And I feel like a lot of people in social media are doing it too. So,
yeah. So I'm curious to know more about others' perspectives on it. So comment down below. Engage in the discussion a little bit. I'm
yeah.
curious to know what other people's perspectives are. We are on social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. It's newbie, so NEWBIE _ Ginnings, Ginnings. And then I believe for Instagram it's underscore MHP, but it's Newbie-ginnings podcast. So yeah, that is it for our episode this week. And this was
New
Newbie-ginnings.
beginnings. Bye.
Oh, we synced. I like that. Oh, that was like